The Ozark Trail Sonder, the good old-fashioned wug-out, bug-out killer, budget bug-out, ultimate $10 knife, whatever you want to call it, this thing took the internet by storm ever since it came out, and they've continued refining it and making better and better versions of it. And it's the only Ozark Trail that seems to get a huge amount of attention on YouTube. I mean, the other knives get a little here and there, but this is definitely their flagship model that everyone knows them for. But honestly, as decent as it is, and I have a full video on it, they make better knives, or should I say they have better knives produced for them. Because while the Sonder is great, I think the best models they make are the 2407s, both the Valor and the Elevation. Sharing the same model numberage, more or less, 2407 or 2407, and a little bit of extra numberage and letters on the end there, but they share different names, okay? Again, this one is the Valor, and this one is the Elevation, and I'm here to tell you that these are the pinnacle of Ozark Trail's knives, and that may not sound like much, but I'll be damned if these things are not, honestly, just incredible knives, okay? The best thing I can say is the Sonder was incredible for being an Ozark Trail knife, while these are honestly just good knives. And I've carried and used both of them. I do have a preference between them for a couple of reasons, but I still really enjoy both of these knives. So, why do they share the same model number? Because you can see the handle design is largely the same. It's actually identical, just a different locking mechanism, a different material, and a different blade shape. And also different blade steels. It's kind of funny because they are very much the same design while also being very different. And that's why I'm knocking them out in one video rather than stretch them into two videos, because a lot of what I have to say about one can also be said about the other, like when we get to ergonomics. So let's start by looking at the Valor. 14C 28N steel Tanto blade with this nice bronze coating on it, and it held up to a lot of my cardboard cutting. It's done pretty well. A hollow ground from about 3/8 of the way down. It's an attractive blade shape. Tantos are not my personal favorite, but I do find that they work well enough for certain tasks. It's definitely not the best utility shape, but it's a very popular one. Meanwhile, the Elevation features a 12C27 clip point blade, which is definitely my preference of the two. Beautifully stone-washed hollow ground from 3/8 of the way down the spine. Out of packaging, these things both came razor sharp, and sadly I couldn't find the boxes to show you guys, but they came hair-shaving sharp. But how do the steels hold up in comparison to other samples of these particular Sandvik steels? Well, I've got a ton of use of 12C27 primarily through the Mora of Sweden knives, and I've got a pretty good amount of use of 14C28N from a lot of the old Kershaws. And what I can tell you is the samples I have in my hand right now, at least, and they might be subject to the same quality control that the Sonder was, so there may be differences from batch to batch. I would say the 14C28N on the Valor is not quite up to par with Kershaw's, but much better than a lot of other budget Chinese 14C28N knives I've used. The 12C27 on the Elevation kept pace completely with my Moras. So, as well as with my Sanrenmu Model 911, which would be a great competitive option. I didn't prepare that particular lineup, so you won't get that this video. But that is to say that the performance is excellent considering the prices of these knives. Let's go ahead and talk about that real quick. This one, the Valor, is $20. The Elevation is $25. And I find that incredible. I mean, I will say, when it comes to cutting tasks, I very much do prefer the Elevation. I think the blade shape is better for it. It's sliced it's sliced really well. I mean, this thing just laser cut through cardboard. This did well, but the coating caused drag, and again, I'm not a huge fan of a Tanto or an EDC shape, but it did well enough. I have no complaints either way, but this one is definitely my preference, despite the technically inferior steel. That said, 12C27 and 14C28N will sharpen incredibly readily, take a literal razor's edge as they were designed to be razor steels, and resist rust decently enough. I mean, they're great budget steels, and a lot of people prefer them over the Chinese CR series like 7CR17, 8CR13, so on and so forth. So I find the blades to be extremely adequate. Length of the blades, 3 1/4 inches on both. Okay, forgot to mention that. The deployment and lockup of these knives is different for both of them, but equally excellent. Okay, they are riding on ball bearings, and you can see the ball bearings on these knives are very drop shut. So I would say deployment is excellent. The lockup, tight side to side and up and down on my Valor. On my elevation, tight side to side. I do have a tiny bit of up and down. Being honest with you, I have a tiny bit of up and down on the elevation. Not enough to bug me. I don't feel it when cutting, but it's there. And the locks are different. We have an axis lock on the Valor, and we have a button lock on the elevation. Which one is my preference? The button lock. I just love the action on this thing. I mean, you just hit that button and it just drops so shut. And you get all the fidget factor that you would get from the axis lock. Now, the axis lock is definitely the stronger of the two locking mechanisms, but for standard EDC tasks, it doesn't really matter. They're both equally functional, they're both equally fun, they have the same fidget factor. So, I would say lockup on these and deployment on these are excellent. Let's talk about centering for a second before I forget. Let's have a look at the elevation first. You can see that blade is perfectly centered. The Valor, it lists a little bit. Okay, just a little bit. And it's not something you can really take out of the pivot point because the male side is on the other end. Maybe you could swap it around and play with it, but I happen to just have a little bit of misalignment. By the way, those are your thumb studs. They're identical on both knives. They work incredibly well. They give you good purchase, and you have great access to them from the handles. Jimping is on top spine of both of these knives. You can see it's a notch cut jimping, and it works really well. It locks my thumb in perfectly on both versions of the knife. So I have no complaints there. Handles, we got G10 on the elevation. We've got aluminum on the Valor. Both are wonderful handle materials that I really like. The ergonomics are fantastic on both. I mean, this thing fits my hand really well. So does this one. I think I prefer the feel of the elevation slightly more. I feel like the G10, they did a better job rounding and sculpting than the aluminum, but the aluminum is still pretty good. By the way, there you can see the milled out stainless steel liners in both knives, as well as our back spacers. Nice touch of orange on the elevation, which I really like. Definitely something I don't expect on a budget knife, but I am a big fan. Weight on these knives. Let's bring out the old scale and show this off. We'll start with the Valor. Coming in at 3.25 ounces, so we'll say 3.2. Now the elevation, 2.94, I'll just say 2.9. So I would call those nice and lightweight knives, especially the elevation. Definitely light enough to carry with you and not have a problem with. Nice, huge lanyard bails down there. I don't even want to call those holes. You could very easily fit any kind of quarters through there for carrying or for putting, I can't speak, for attaching a lanyard to the knife to help with extraction, because it is a loop over clip. Now, it's not a true deep carry clip, but it is looped over, and to my amazement, Ozark Trail actually did make sure these screws were recessed. There's no mushroom topping like we got on the Valor, or sorry, on the Sonder. So you can see what I mean there. The differences in that screw placement or the kinds of screw used. Much, much better. The clip, still not ideal as it does flare up toward the end. It's basically identical to the Sonder, but it functions well enough. It is blackened. It does reverse to either side. And if you want to see how they carry, here's the old cutlery lever pocket. Again, great idea, Jeff. Love to steal from you. And you can see they carry about yay deep, which is more than adequate, I would say. I don't like a true deep carry clip anyways. I like a little something to grab onto. Tension on the clips is perfect. Actually, on the Valor here, it's even tighter than on the elevation. So expect some differences from batch to batch. But it is reversible for you lefties, so these are ambidextrous knives. And yes, lefties can use a button lock even if it's not on their side. I get really tired of explaining to people that left-handed people can utilize locking mechanisms that aren't necessarily designed for them, because just as righties are used to using our thumb to actuate a button lock, my brother's left-handed, I'll speak to this from his experience, lefties are used to using their pointer finger and reaching around. Okay, it's the same thing with a liner lock. They're used to pulling the liner as opposed to pushing it. It's just a difference in what we are used to based on our life experiences. They are both fully ambidextrous. Okay, 4¼ inches long for the handles. I can't believe I keep missing the technical specs because the technical stuff is boring and most of you don't care. But yeah, Honestly, excellent values. In terms of build quality, I would put these easily above all of the Chinese Kershaws and Camilluses that you're going to find at Walmart, undoubtedly. This actually, in my opinion, is pretty comparable to, oh, what is that Kershaw axis lock that they make in China? It's not the, is it the Iridium? Something like that. I would say the quality is very comparable to those, very comparable to like the Kaiser Vanguard line, the Sencut knives from We Knives, and I own quite a few. And yeah, honestly, the quality is very much on par with those, in my opinion. These aren't just good for the money. These aren't just good for Ozark trails. These are actually, honest to God, good knives. And, you know, if they had a different company stamp on that blade, I wouldn't be shocked at all. I'm not sure who they OEM'd for these, but whoever's doing it is doing a kick-ass job. This one especially I love. The combination of that clip point blade, that stonewash, that green G10 handle, that beautiful orange backspacer. This thing is a genuine, honest to God, part of my EDC rotation. Speaking of which, my EDC today is a Chris Reeve large Sebenza 31. So I've got a lot of great knives to choose from in my EDC rotation. But this particular Ozark Trail, again, this one is the Elevation, makes it into my pocket fairly often. The Valor, less so, but I carry it at work sometimes. Still great knives, I just have preferences, and this one doesn't meet all of my personal preferences. This one, on the other hand, does. It's light, it has a great blade shape, a good steel, it's ergonomic, it's got a great lock that's fun to play with. I mean, this thing's fantastic. Can you do better for the money? It's possible. I mean, there's tons of cheap knives out there these days, but as far as Walmart's blades go, I would take these any day over much of the competition. I would buy these over the Bird line. I would buy these over most CRKTs, most Kershaws, basically every budget Gerber. I mean, these things are actually genuinely outstanding knives for the money, and they could charge twice as much for each of them, and I'd still think they were a good deal. By the way, Walmart don't do that, but they could. If they retailed this at 40 and they retailed this at 45 or 50, I would still find them to be a good deal. At the prices they're at now, 9.5 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And until next time, I will see you later. Peace and take care.